Welcome to the Bluegrass Blues podcast. I'm Amy.
And I'm Jesse. Well, this is our 12th episode, and I'm glad to see, Amy, that you're with us, that the Rapture didn't get you. Didn't get me either. So do you know what was going on with that? Or
You know, it's Rosh Hashanah. I've been focused on the new year for Jewish people. I kind of missed out on all this. Why don't you update us?
Okay, so if you were on social media the past couple of weeks, you would have seen that evangelical Christians had decided that Jesus was coming and that they were going to be lifted up into the heavens as part of the rapture, which is this idea that in Christian fundamentalism, the rapture means that the true believers are going to be taken to heaven in full bodily form, and that there will be 7 years of tribulation, and then there will be the Armageddon. That's their logic here.
Is there like a magnet up on high, and it just pulls them up?
It must be, because they're just going to rise, and it's not that they're going to like disappear. They're just going to levitate into the heavens. But if you were watching social media these past couple of weeks, you would have seen there were people, just tons of people, talking about in tears, saying they were getting ready for the rapture, that they were selling all their belongings and giving all their key information to their family members who they knew weren't going to go to heaven with them. And it was, it was supposed to happen either the 23rd or the 24th. Today's the 25th. And we're all still here. It doesn't appear
to have happened.
Oh, no.
I didn't see any.
I saw no one floating in the air. So
maybe in a dream.
Yeah, to me, there's this Christian fundamentalism it's very dangerous, and it's very geared toward being ignorant. And
being absolved of any responsibility for the hard.
Right, and that's the thing.
Things.
It's almost like the fundamentalists have decided. They took a look around and they saw that everything's bad, partly because of the person they put in the White House, and so instead of like doing something to actually improve the lives of everybody or to deal with the problems that we're facing today, they decided, not my problem. I'm going to check out, and you all have to deal with it. And they didn't do anything, or they didn't have this experience that they were expecting. So now
that would be really, really sad to like get rid of your house and all your belongings and your job and everything, and then not have God like use his magnet to pull you up in the sky.
Well, I saw one where this woman said that she bought a car from a guy who was expecting the rapture, and he better not expect her to give it back.
Right. Like, how are they going to get around now? Yeah. Oh, I guess it's not my problem. I'll just pray for them.
Yeah, right.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
All right, you guys. Thoughts and prayers.
But the thing is that this is... let's talk about religion for a while, and how the irresponsibility of certain groups of people in terms of their religion, where they've decided that they're going to just check out and not have to deal with the problems they've created. Not only that, they're doing things, or they have done things that have made our lives worse. They are indoctrinating kids in schools. They put through these efforts to get the 10 Commandments in the classroom again. There was this story in the Kentucky Lantern this week about an Ohio group that's taking school children to the Creation Museum.
Yes, and the Ark.
Yeah,
there
and
is
the
an
Ark. Yeah. So these museums are supposed to be. Well, their belief is that the Earth was created 6,000 years ago, and that men roamed around with dinosaurs, and it just is. It defies all teachings of true science. It's this make-believe system where they're condemning people for not believing, but then they give us these really amazingly stupid ideas about what you should teach children. And if you look at the numbers, since the pandemic occurred, they're in schools. The numbers are down for all across the board in terms of what children are learning. They're not reaching the correct reading levels. They're not reaching the correct arithmetic levels. Everything has gone down. Science is down.
Science is bad.
Yeah, science is bad, and it's, if you look to the government in terms of how the government is supposed to improve the situation in schools, the Secretary of Education's previous job was as the head of WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment System. And there are photos of her like in the ring doing like body slams with people, and this is our education secretary. These are, we have that craziness going on. We have Secretary of Health who has decided that Tylenol causes autism,
right.
Which is, where does this come from? Because autism was recognized back in the early 20th century. I'm sure even before then. Tylenol was invented in the 1950s. So where's the logic of this? And I don't know if you saw the Trump press conference where he made the announcement about Tylenol.
Yeah.
Where he couldn't pronounce acetaminophen. It was just this.
Pronouncing words correctly is intellectualism, and I think it's Satanism, actually.
Right. But, we have these, there's just this overall failure in religion that's really setting everyone back. And, it not only involves the Christian religion, there's this whole idea in the Israel situation with Gaza, where it's God's will that they take the land, or God's will that you commit genocide, and it's just not. You did a letter to the editor, or you made an announcement with some group recently?
Yeah, there were several of us who signed, Palestinians and Jewish people in Louisville, who signed an op-ed, an opinion piece in the Courier Journal, basically calling this war what it is, and it's a genocide in Gaza, and for our legislators like Morgan McGarvey and others to sign on and co-sponsor even the Block the Bombs legislation to stop selling these bombs to Israel to do with whatever they wish. I was raised Jewish, and I was actually raised as a conservative Jewish person. Conservative Judaism doesn't mean that I'm not progressive politically, but the values that I was raised with, actually they remind me a lot of the values that Jesus teaches, right? Like justice and liberty for all and peace and loving your neighbor and welcoming the stranger and all the things. Like, this is exactly how I was raised. And unfortunately for this High Holy Day season, which interesting that the Rapture was timed for Rosh Hashanah, which means the head of the year, the new year. And people wish you a happy new year. We eat apples and honey, sweet new year. So sorry about that, you Rapture people. I'm really sorry that didn't work out for you. But for a lot of us Jewish people who really are struggling with this political situation caused by Bibi Netanyahu and his war machine, and apparently, Jewish leadership in this country, mainstream Jewish leadership, also, just believes that Israel can do whatever it wants, including, maiming children and murdering and starving families, and now, completely bombing out Gaza City so that, these trapped people have to move again. Where? I don't know. What are they eating? How are they living? But, I see a Riviera coming on, the Mediterranean Sea with Trump's name, Trump Bibi land or something but what we did here, because we don't have clergy here that are speaking out against these atrocities, a lot of us did not go to services. For me, it was the first time in my life that I didn't go to services. In fact, I sing in the choir, and I've always sung in the choir. I know all the music by heart. And it's meaningful to me, but I could not go and listen to another sermon about Israel on the high holidays. So we created our own service, and we had it outdoors. It was beautiful. and I led some meditation and some yoga, and we really got to a lot of the fundamental questions that Jewish people ask at this time of year. And we talk about our sins, and we talk about what we could have done better over the course of the year. We talk about making amends. And then while the gates are open now from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, these gates are open, and now is really the time that we look at ourselves and we set intentions for who we want to be in the new year. And I couldn't do that in services. I couldn't do it in synagogue this year. And it was really funny. We went around the table talking about this, and my son, who is 22 years old, I was talking about this is the first time I haven't been in services, and he said, well, this is the first time I haven't fallen asleep during Rosh Hashanah. So I guess it was an improvement for everyone, including my son, who managed to stay awake and actually stay engaged, because we were really including him in a unique, authentic way this year.
Yeah, it's people who are truly religious and who believe in the teachings of Christ are not evangelical, and they're not they're not the extreme right wing, even though those are the people who say they are the most religious. Because you look at what's happening in religion now, and today's martyr is Charlie Kirk. I mean,
right.
Where does that come from?
Yeah. Homophobic, racist, sexist.
Right, but he's a Christian.
Yeah.
So he's that kind of Christian that, the people who are with the Ark, or the people who are waiting for the Rapture, that's the kind of person they want to follow. But, it has permeated so much, especially with the Charlie Kirk funeral. I don't know if you saw any of the clips from that, but
You'd think he was a head of state. You'd think
right.
he was royalty.
Yeah, and plus they brought out all the Christian iconography in this service, where there's this photo of this guy carrying a cross, but the cross has a roller skate at the bottom of it. So, maybe he needs a cross with training wheels. I mean, what's going on here?
Might be too heavy to carry.
Yeah, well,
Things are too heavy to carry, Jesse.
Right, but
I want to be lifted up into the sky by some magic white man with a magnet.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. And
Damn.
the thing with Charlie Kirk is also that we talked about this last week, where stadiums, sports teams were doing a moment of silence for him, and our congressman, who I'm going to rip right now, Morgan McGarvey, signed onto this Charlie Kirk, whatever it was, in the U.S. House. They passed some legislation noting the importance of Charlie Kirk, and for McGarvey to do that is it's an insult to his constituency, the people who put him in office. He's in Louisville. That means he had to get the black vote in order to win.
And the queer vote.
And the
women's vote.
And the immigrant vote. The people who are here, who are United States citizens who came from other countries.
Voted legally.
Right. And that's everything that Charlie Kirk was
against.
Yeah, he was just saying horrible things. He was putting people on these lists where his followers could harass them. He was putting the names of college professors on a list where they trying to get them thrown out of the schools. And they're treating this guy like he's Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
It really was insulting. And our congressman voted along with the rest of them. There were too many Democrats voted in favor of this measure. I think there were like 99. But, he could have voted no. He could have abstained. He could have voted absent.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He voted with the Charlie Kirk forces, where he is telling us that he believes Charlie Kirk was right. That's, you can't parse it any other way. If you vote in favor of this, you support what Charlie Kirk said. So he supports the attacks on black women who are successful, and he supports attacks on gay people, and he supports attacks on immigrants
and having them locked up with alligators in the middle of the swamp.
It makes it kind of interesting.
Or sent to Uganda.
Yeah. They're flying people to countries they have nothing to do with, and just dropping them off.
And listeners, I just want to say that Jesse and I do not condone violence, and we don't condone the fact that he was murdered. Absolutely not.
No.
No.
We do not. No,
Nor do we condone the lynching of a young black man at Delta State University in Mississippi that almost got no news.
Or the fact that when Charlie Kirk died, that HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, had to shut down because people were threatening to blow them up, saying that it's like it was a left conspiracy, when it turns out it's just another right winger or some kid who's off on some weird social media tangent,
right,
like in the dark web.
Mackenzie Scott just gave a huge amount of money, millions and millions of dollars, to HBCUs in the last week. So, unlike her husband, who I think Amazon Prime, they just lost a big lawsuit that because they were basically getting people to subscribe to Prime, and then they made it really difficult for you to get out of the contract. And I think we're getting $1.5 billion with a $2.5 billion lawsuit. But I digress.
Before you go,
Mackenzie
Scott is divorced from Jeff Bezos, and that's what we're talking about. Jeff Bezos is the head of Amazon. It's... I
never hear about what he's giving the way that she gives. She's unbelievable. Just like Melissa Gates is unbelievable. Bill Gates is.
But if you look at the donations that Amazon gives, or that Bezos gives, or that any of the really super rich billionaires give, I do a mathematical calculation in my head, and like, if they give X amount of dollars, what would that mean if I gave proportionately the same amount of money they give? And a lot of times I found it's like me giving 25 cents to a guy on the street who's looking for some change.
Right.
This is only change for them, but they make these announcements that Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg have donated $1 million to something, when they have fortunes that are in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right. So, and I want to go back to the Charlie Kirk stuff, because we had this big blow up with Jimmy Kimmel over the last week too, where he's a comedian, and he has free speech, and he did not condone the murder at all. Actually, I thought what he was talking about Charlie was pretty tepid. But what you saw was the head of the FCC under Trump's dictatorship, basically pressuring ABC, who's owned by Disney, to cancel the show, which they did. And then what you saw, and this is where I have hope, and I'm always the one that's the hopeful one in this crew. But you saw a bunch of us. I had a Disney Plus bundle because I still have young people in the house, and it comes with Hulu and ESPN, I think, and that was $30 a month. You saw, tens of thousands of us cancel our Disney subscriptions, right? So then it became, I saw that their stock price dropped the equivalent of like $4 billion, right?
Yeah.
So then it became a money decision, which I'm fine with. I'm like, come on, people, let's bring the power to the purse and boycott these places. And they reinstated Kimmel to his show.
Yeah, this week. And it's the same thing that happened with Target, where they got rid of all their DEI programs. And Target had been pushing itself as this big, fair employer and believer in equal opportunity for people. And then Trump comes along, they say, never mind. And so the Target's numbers are down hugely.
Right.
That's a
Keep shopping Costco.
Yeah.
But going back to that, the free speech stuff, I thought it was really interesting how Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, here in Kentucky, really thought that was horrible and egregious for the government to have any kind of comment on a comedian's speech, on free speech, major government intrusion.
And Jimmy Kimmel actually commended Rand Paul for doing that.
And Mitch McConnell, actually, too.
And Rand Paul said, well, it's the first time my name's appeared on Jimmy Kimmel.
Right, right. Miracles do happen.
But again, when we get back to McGarvey and what he's done, There's one other thing that bothers me about what he's done is there has been this move by the Republicans in this state to redraw the maps of all the districts to get rid of the only Democratic district in the state, which is our district, and our congressman is McGarvey.
Right.
And
District 3.
And
Louisville.
the thing is that when this announcement was made, and I've said this before, he didn't respond. He said nothing to, like, yeah, if I were a politician, I would have just gone off and called them all kinds of names, talking about how they want a fascist country because they're taking away the voices of the people, and he said nothing. So he says nothing in terms of this redrawing of district maps. He supports Charlie Kirk in the legislature, and how can he expect his constituents to support him when he does things like
Plus,
this?
he's not out in the state, as we've mentioned numerous times. He should be out in the state with all those
Right.
town halls that Republicans don't hold because they're so unpopular now. It's interesting because John Yarmouth, who preceded Morgan McGarvey as our congressman from the 3rd District, he just wrote a piece on September 24th in the Kentucky Lantern where he was talking about the ugly specter of midterm gerrymandering and the potential disruption. And he is very clear that, first of all, it's very unusual for states to redraw district lines between censuses. But he also talks about how, in Louisville, you have this very efficient and effective coordination of efforts between the mayor, Metro Council, and the representative for the 3rd District, because the constituents are the same and the needs and wants are the same. And he writes that now there's some discussions among some Republicans in Frankfort about splitting Louisville into 3 different congressional districts, presumably making it almost impossible for a Democrat to be elected. And some of these districts, he says, are going to go all the way down to the border of Tennessee, which is nuts. And, it would be impossible to really effectively and efficiently govern. And he also mentions that Republicans down there don't really want liberals from Louisville, having a say in what's happening in southern Kentucky. And I don't blame them, right? Like, they have their wants and needs. We have our wants and needs. Louisville is very different than southern rural Kentucky on the Tennessee border.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, you're talking about a urban district and splitting that up to have influence over what a rural district
Right,
was.
and you have black people here and their voices matter. They would pretty much lose their voices.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be the reason why they would do this.
Exactly.
It's pure discrimination. And the problem we have in the state is that there's a supermajority of Republicans in both the House and Senate. So if they want to do this, they can. There will be a legal fight, no doubt.
Right.
But again, the Democratic Party in this state has been very weak about actually defending itself and defending the people who support it.
And apparently this happened in Nashville. About 250,000 people in Nashville were placed in a new district with 500,000 other Tennesseans. So it's going to be clear that the 500,000 other Tennesseans are going to, have their interests be heard, and not the 250,000 from Nashville. And Nashville has a Democratic mayor, and so he's got to work with 3 Republican representatives on any federal initiative. So apparently Missouri is about to do the same thing to Kansas City, breaking up its largest city and economic engine for strictly partisan electoral advantage, disenfranchising a large black population from federal representation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This one I'm not that hopeful about, but we got to step up, Kentucky.
And the Democratic Party has to step up, not only on the state level.
And Morgan has to step up.
Yeah,
Gee whiz.
And the National Party has to step up, where, again, we're not hearing what we should be hearing from them.
Another stupid thing I read this week. Stupid. Yeah, see, that's how you might say it if you're not very smart. You might say stupid. So on September 23rd, this is also from the Kentucky Lantern, GOP attorneys general dispute climate science, urge end to greenhouse gas regulations. And whose photo is at the top of this article? No one other than Attorney General Russell Coleman. And he is against climate science. He thinks it's hooey. And he thinks that all the companies deserve not to be regulated, and it's terrible for the economy, blah, blah, blah. And, what's interesting about this article is that Byron Gary, an attorney for the environmental legal group Kentucky Resources Council, which, if you don't know about them and you care about Kentucky's environment, Kentucky Resources Council is the place to put your money in for fighting for clean water, for clean air, for clean soil, for alternative energy sources, etc. But he basically said that, if these attorneys general really do cut the regulations on climate issues, that these are real effects on people's lives. They are going to be killing people if this is repealed.
And when they're doing that, if they're repealing environmental laws or doing these things where they call for more pollution, they're taking away Medicare and taking away Medicaid and health services.
Right.
So
you have all these wildfires and all this flooding and all this dangerous, polluted water, asthma as a result of the smokestacks not having scrubbers in them, and yet all these people are going to not have access to health care.
And if there's a disaster, there's no FEMA, because the money that was going to go to FEMA to deal with disasters is instead going to build concentration camps.
Yeah. Did you read that the FEMA director couldn't be contacted within a full 24 hours after the Texas floods? That Texas,
Yeah.
Where was he?
Well, also in the immigration director is, taking bagfuls of money, that
Right.
$50,000 bribe
Right.
that the FBI caught him on, and that he hasn't been fired because he's part of a corrupt administration.
Right.
It's just a kleptocracy.
It is.
Anyway.
I have some fun stuff to
Yes,
mention.
let's
Can
go
we
for
do
the
that?
fun stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So this Sunday, September 28th, from 1 to 6 p.m. at Trellis Brewery, which is on 1827 Logan Street, Louisville, Kentucky. So near the Logan Street Market, Shelby Park area, there is a We the People Palooza. So it's an afternoon of live music, speakers, food trucks, and community action. You can see that it's going to be really great. It has partnering organizations like Planned Parenthood, L-Surge, which I've talked about, Louisville Standing Up for Racial Justice. The Fairness Campaign is sponsoring it. Sierra Club is sponsoring it. Kentucky Citizens for Democracy, and a whole lot more. So a lot of incredible local organizations fighting for justice. And so come, it's a day to celebrate, resist, and build community together. Everyone is welcome. So that's one thing I think is really cool. That's going to be really fun. And then the big day coming up is October 18th. Put it on your calendar. That's our next No Kings Day all across the country. So be looking at 50501 Kentucky. Be looking at any place that you find your progressive politics stuff. No King's Day will be in many, many towns in Kentucky. It's so exciting.
And let's once again explain what the significance of 50501 is.
It's 50 states, 50 actions on one day. So they're very coordinated, which is frankly what we need. I still am dismayed by the lack of leadership by the Democratic Party. There are so many opportunities to just, really skewer all of this nasty shit. And where's the leadership? But there are grassroots volunteers all over the country stepping up, and it really is going to be the power of the people to turn this around. Our pocketbooks matter, as we saw with Disney. And as we've seen with Target and some other places, when they start losing money, they start paying attention.
Yeah. And let's talk about some of the things that have happened that aren't related to politics at all. Like just last week, we had the Bug Fest in Bernheim Forest.
Yeah.
And you were there. You were one of the guides through the day. Can you tell us a little about that?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. So Bug Fest is this amazing event. We had a 50% increase in attendees at Bug Fest last weekend. And basically what it is we captured bugs on site the week leading up to the event. We're tagging monarch butterflies, and we showed people how you tag monarch butterflies. So we had all these insects, and then we had all these participating organizations like Idlewild. If you haven't been to Idlewild, it's on Logan Street in Louisville as well, and they are doing amazing things. Having chrysalises in there, they've got walking sticks, and they have hissing Madagascar cockroaches and all these bugs. And even if you just want to see dead bugs because you think that like beetles are really cool, they've got the coolest cases of dead bugs in there, and you can learn about all these amazing bugs. So there was a costume tent and a bug parade. There were crafts, there were all of these booths, an insect zoo, and there were these great hornets' nests, and we had a photo booth, and my kids manned or personed the photo booth, and you could wear the head of a praying mantis or any kind of some sort of bug and take your picture with your family. I'm seeing a lot of holiday cards go out now with people with bug heads on them from Bug Fest. And it was a total blast. And for me, and I went on an insect treasure hunt with Kevin Weiner. He lives in Evansville, and he runs this group called All Bugs Go to Kevin. And he knows so much about bugs. He actually used to be an exterminator and then fell in love with bugs. And now he's got this worldwide following of All Bugs Go to Kevin. And all day long, people are posting on his website and his Facebook page, what is this? They want to know what bug they're seeing. And he's so cool. And so we went out with the kids and we went on insect treasure hunts. And for me, the coolest part is seeing the kids be so jazzed about bugs. And for me, this is an act of resistance, especially today. We are seeing a major drop in the insect population. I think it was about 40%. So we are damaging the environment, seriously damaging it. And there are species that are becoming extinct. And so seeing the kids get excited and not afraid of bugs gives me hope that they will then talk to their families about not spraying insecticides and pesticides, and also about planting native gardens so that the monarchs and the bees and all these places, these insects have food.
Right. It wasn't like it's an environmental issue, and it's a good way to show that the environment does matter. My grandchildren, I was there with my grandchildren, my two grandsons, and they had a great time. They were like going through these bins that contained plastic bugs, and they were sorting through those. So they put the spider on their hand or whatever, tarantulas or whatever. Then my 5-year-old grandson was at one of the booths where a guy put a millipede in his hand, and it's like you hear this squeal, just this squeal of joy that this bug is crawling on his hand. He got a costume because the costumes were free to use, so he had to get them back at the end. But he was dressed as a dragonfly, and he did use the mask. And his 2-year-old brother was there too, just having as much fun as he was having. And they were out in the environment. They were outdoors playing and running around with a lot of other children. It was packed. And when we got there, there was a line that just went down the highway for at least a mile. And it was just a really good way to see people really enjoying the outdoors, enjoying the environment, and learning something about what this environment means to us and how it keeps us alive. So
right. And your grandson Milo, oh my gosh, he was just running around, and he would ask his grandma TC, he's like, TC, come catch me, I'm a butterfly. And he was just spreading his wings and flying all over the place. They were so cute.
Yeah.
They had so much fun. Oh, and Jesse, you said that if a millipede had showed up in his house, he would have probably had a very different reaction.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like this bug is running around, but he'd never been exposed to that before. So, it's like kids are exposed to something that they ordinarily wouldn't see in their home, and now if they see it in their home, they'll know what it is. They won't freak out. It'll just be, oh, okay, this is a bug, and you could just put it outside and put it where it belongs.
And maybe they've learned a little bit about their beneficial uses and what they do and why they're here, like spiders inside the house and things like that.
Right.
Two other things happened over the last couple weeks that were really big for the Louisville economy.
Mm-hmm.
That was Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life. Apparently almost 500,000 people came to town for these music events.
Right. They were two 4-day music festivals. I think in Bourbon and Beyond they had about 300 artists in the course of 4 days. And I don't know how many artists they had at Louder Than Life, but we were driving down the highway. This was the weekend of Bugfest, and there was just this long line of cars going at the exit from the interstate where the Louder Than Life festival was. But it's 8 days of music with really famous bands at the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center, which seems like it's a perfect place to do this, because not only were the stages, or like at least 4 or 5 stages, active the whole time, people also had access to the rides at Kentucky Kingdom.
Right.
So, it's like
there's a ton of parking there.
Right, yeah. You listen to
and
the
it's
bands.
Centrally located. It's really close to the airport.
Right.
I mean, it's easy access.
Right, easy to find getting off at the interstate, but it was huge, and it brought in millions and millions of dollars for the Kentucky or the Louisville economy. And, it was such a success. I think they did it last year. They were doing it on the waterfront, and there was it
was still
okay.
It was in a different location at the fairgrounds last year, but I think they thought this location was better. But previously it was on River Road, and the event space got flooded,
yeah.
and it was a disaster, so they had to move it up to higher ground.
But it makes sense moving it down to the convention
right.
center. It's accessible, mm-hmm. Parking is no problem, and you can just like roam around, and it just really is well done. And
it's just not green. It's not very green there.
Yeah,
which I miss. But.
Yeah, we went to the state fair there, so that was another event where kids get to see animals, so that was fun too. Mm-hmm. And what else happened? Something else happened. We have something coming up next, not this coming weekend, but next weekend is the art show.
St. James
Court Art Show.
Art Show.
And that will have 300 artists from all over the country. It has been voted as one of the best art shows in the country, and it's right outside my front door. I've been doing this we've been here for 18 years now. We've been in Louisville since 2010, so that's 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved here, it was like just the weekend before art show, and we just helped out with having artists set up their booths and letting them have access to our house if they had to use the bathroom or something. And again, it's right outside our front door, so we could open the door and there's art everywhere, and it takes up at least 4 square blocks of old Louisville, from 6th Street all the way to 3rd Street, and it goes from Hill Street to Central Park. So you've got art all over the place, lots of food trucks or access to food, and in Central Park they'll have live entertainment. They had dance programs or singers or puppet shows, whatever. It's just a huge thing in the heart of Louisville. It's right outside our front door. So,
and a lot of the neighborhood associations here make the money that they need to like trim the trees and make sure that the lawns are mowed and the communal spaces are taken care of. I'm the president of the Auerbacher Court Neighborhood Association, and every year we collect bourbon bottles, cool liquor bottles, and then we cut them off, and then we saw them off, and then the neighbors come together and we all sand them so there are no sharp edges, and then we wick them, and then we pour really fragrant wax in them, and we always have a booth on 4th Street. And last year we made over $6,000 selling these candles that the community made, and that pays for all the things that we want to do. Also, I want to just mention that this coming Saturday from 10 to 2, the Auerbacher Court neighborhood is having a free swap meet. So come and pick up all kinds of free stuff. If you want to take stuff that you were going to take to Goodwill or some other place and bring it to the swap meet and meet some neighbors, come join us. It's on the intersection of Julian Court and Auerbacher Court in the heart of Old Louisville. Don't miss it.
Yeah, there really is a lot of stuff to do in Louisville, and we get obsessed with the political situation in the country, and we have fears about where the current administration is leading us. But there are these other events that we've just talked about that show that there's liveliness, there's happiness, and there are things to do that will distract you from the bad things that are going on right now.
Not only distract you, but I would frame it as to empower you to have the energy to spend in the way that we can spend authentically to fight this regime. I will say, last night, was it last night? What's day? 2 nights ago, I went to see Melissa Etheridge and the Indigo Girls at the Iroquois Amphitheater.
I was going to ask you about that.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. It was just so fun. And the backdrop was very political. They had signs like "Stand up for the lookout," and then all around that it said, "Don't say gay, don't say gay, don't say gay." And then they had this poster on the backdrop: "What to do if ICE comes? You have rights."
Was this a free show, or did you have to pay?
Oh
to
no,
do
it wasn't free, but it wasn't predatory either. Mm-hmm. But they had all this great stuff on the backdrop, and they were very, how the Indigo Girls and Melissa Etheridge are very, lesbians making music. The lesbian community was very well represented. It was so fun. We all just danced our butts off and knew all the songs and sang so out loud. And it was necessary. It was such a good time for us to have this cathartic communal experience, because then we're energized to then get back onto the 5 Calls app and show up at our protests and write our legislators. Actually, the last form letter I got from Rand Paul, I don't even remember what I was writing him about, but literally he does not even mention the topic that I was writing about. It was like, "Thank you for writing. It's my honor to serve our constituents, and feel free to write again," or whatever. But I mean, he didn't even mention the issue that I even wrote about. That was a little disturbing. But that's why we need concerts and community and art shows and the arts. We can't defund this stuff.
Right. And with the Rand Paul letter, I'm sure he used an auto pen to sign it,
I'm
because
certain.
that was the big Republican complaint against Biden, that he was using an auto pen, like Trump doesn't use an auto pen. But it's we are just going through a difficult time now, and there are things we can do. Like you just told me that there was a special election in Arizona, and a Democrat won there.
Yeah.
Arizona's a very conservative state.
Latina.
So, yeah, a Latina.
Her dad had run there, and she's now got the seat, and we need her.
Yeah, and we're going to have elections in 2026, so we have to get ready for that, and we still have to, do our best to stop what this regime is doing,
right?
Because they are they are trying to kill us.
They are.
And it's not only that they're trying to kill us, they've announced that they want to kill us because, go back to the Charlie Kirk funeral, and you have Stephen Miller talking about the enemies and Trump talking about how he hates his enemies. This is at a religious service where they're talking about hating their enemies.
Right.
So there are things that we can do to get away from it, but we have to remember that it's still going on, and we have to do our best to make sure the future is better for our children, for our grandchildren, because that's what I'm concerned about now. I'm pretty old, and I know my time isn't, it's not going to be much longer, but we have generations that are coming up behind us, and we have to do things to improve their lives and to make sure their lives are better. So that's my little speech for the day.
Well, thanks, Jesse, for another productive, perhaps entertaining podcast.
Yes, and thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks after the art show. It'll be before the art show. It'll be after the art show.
After.
So we'll give you all the details of the art show and tell you all the art we bought.
Yeah.
So everybody, thanks for listening. We'll be back soon.
Bye.
Our closing music is by John Chamberlain.